Welcome to the Redemption Podcast Show. I'm U.S. Army veteran and poetic human John Krotec.
And I am a former professional fighter, the champion soul, Jason Freebird Freeman. In a sincere effort to help others and to set some records straight, we share our personal stories and scripture and offer real solutions to overcoming the challenges of life.
We appreciate you being here. And remember, the truth
shall set you free.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Redemption Podcast Show. My co-host, Jason Freebird Freeman, the champion soul, myself, John Krotec, the poetic human. And once again, we have a very special guest. Jason's mother, Shawn Moreland, is back on the show. We were just smoking and joking before we came to tape here, and we were talking about people trying to tell us who we are and where we come from. And so people that don't even know us. And one of the things that we're going to talk about on this episode, and I think the next one too, Shawn's been doing the research. She's been diving deep. And, everybody's talking about DNA and accusing Jason of not being who he says he is. And, we're going to talk about bloodlines and we're going to talk about DNA. And we're going to try to get the truth out there, which is what we always do. And then we're going to try to ask the people that are raising so much ruckus, why? What's the reason?
Is this going to be enough so we can show all the proof and everything and where we come from and where we're at, but then there's still controversy. So today, I'm very excited to bring my mom Shawn on the show, because we've done the research for the past 6 years, and we've already had it collected, and we already know from our history and from our past. My mom knows, and we know. I know with my relationship with my father, we know. So we want to share with you the facts so that technically, through science that proves the DNA lines up exactly where you wish it wouldn't. But
well, that being said, well put, Jason. Here's what we're going to do. And Shawn, I'm going to be straight up. I want to know who you are, where you came from, and I want to know how you gave birth to this guy, my co-host. We'll just start there. Well, we don't have to go into detail, but you know what I'm saying.
Pushed and pushed.
Yeah. And he had a head this big, but seriously though, no, all kidding aside, Shawn, tell us about you, your background, and then the birth of your child.
Well, I was raised in Denison and Uricksville, Ohio. And I was when I was born, we lived in Midvale. I don't remember that. But I don't know. We had a really good childhood, and aunts and uncles and stuff. And then my mom and dad got a divorce, and I think it threw all of us kids into a tailspin because there was really nobody around to tell us what to do. So I ended up, running around drinking and stuff. And then I ended up with Jay. And right or wrong, he was like a friend. And so he moved in with us. He stayed with us. And then, of course, later on, things didn't go well. But I ended up getting pregnant for Jason, and Jay just wasn't prepared to raise a family. And so I just, had Jason and raised him, and I really didn't bother with his dad that much. As far as Charles Manson goes, I hardly ever thought about him at all. And because it didn't even enter into our life. I mean, our friends knew because Jay told everybody. but we just for
I
people.
I was thinking back, Mom, just with and I still have them up on the shelf here, just a couple cards that came from my father over to you,
Yeah.
and it says in that card, you was telling me about it too. It says in that card, imagine if we would have got married, you would be Shawn Freeman Manson.
Oh,
What it
Jason.
says on that card, I read it the other day.
Yeah, that would be awful, wouldn't it?
Well, so so Jay, so tell us about Jay. Some people that are listening, Sean, may not know about
Oh,
about his name change. You know what I mean?
oh, well, when I met him, we called him Jay, and he went by Jay White. Um, his real name that he had to go by when he got his driver's license and stuff was Charles Millis Manson Jr. But we called him Jay because that was the name he went by.
So
I think
he
not
never
legal.
legally changed
No,
his name.
no,
Mhm.
his mom didn't know. She just, I don't even know why she called him Jay White. She had Jed and Jesse. She was married to a White
Well,
after
that time I
Charles.
talked to Grandpa about that, he said that they both called him Junior, often, and that's why. And Grandpa said that that's why she went with Jay was for Junior, and that's
Oh,
two different sides of the spectrum, but they knew each other back then at that point.
yeah.
So that was his name was
Well,
shortened.
when he was in prison before they were married and he was in prison, now from what I've read, uh, she used to take Jay to go see him in prison for about a year. And then she
Yeah.
ended up with Jack White and moved on.
So that's your grandmother Rosie, who was married to Charles Manson. I've seen the marriage pictures of them when that happened.
Yeah, can you believe that? I was floored when I seen that marriage picture because I thought, "Oh my god, they had a nice
It
little
was
wedding."
it was so pretty. It was such a pretty wedding, wasn't it?
He looked like a respectable person. Her family ended up moving to Cadiz, Ohio, but she's from West Virginia. And
McMecken
so,
or
huh?
not? McMecken,
McMecken.
am I wrong?
Um,
Is that the,
I think that's it, McMecken.
or they got married in McMecken? Something like that. We went through there.
So they
Yeah.
got married, and then they were in Ohio for a while before they went to California. How did that work out,
No,
Sean?
they were in West Virginia before they went to uh out west. When they went out west, they went out in a stolen car.
Did she know
And
that, or
I don't know. I don't
Grandpa
know.
told me that story.
And
what
they
was
were in a
this?
stolen car. And but that's what they did. They were just small time criminals. They stole cars and stuff. And they went out there and he got caught. So they ended up throwing him in prison. He wasn't going to work. He had to make money somehow. And it wasn't going to be by working.
So he didn't want to work. He was a small time criminal going in and out of, not really doing anything
No,
crazy. Just
no.
he met Jason's grandmother. They went to California in a stolen car. He got caught in California with a stolen car.
Yep.
Then
And
what
he
did
went to
she?
And
prison there.
He went to
he might have
prison
got a
in
gun
California.
charge too off that.
Well, he went
I'm
to
not 100%.
prison. He went to prison in California. Actually, his mother lived in California, and Rosie stayed with her while she was waiting on Charles to get out of prison. And that's how Rosie went back and forth to the jail because she was living with Charles's mother.
But had Jay been born yet? Had
Yeah,
Junior been born yet? So he was out
he
in
had.
California with his
Yeah,
parents.
he was born in California. Yes, and then she would take him, as the story goes, to the jail to see Charles. And then one day she just quit going. But I think she met Jack White at that time.
And then came back to Ohio.
She actually had two children. They were born in California too.
So Jay has a brother.
Two,
Two brothers.
but they're both dead. All the boys are gone now.
Yeah.
Jed was killed when he was around 11 or 12, I think. He was shot with a shotgun. It was an accident, kids playing with a gun. And that was in Cadiz, Ohio. And Jesse, really nice guy. I really like Jesse. I wish he was still here. He died from, I think, alcohol and stuff. I'm not sure why he took to drinking because I never thought of Jesse like that. So I don't know what happened to him. And then, then Jay later on, shot himself. So she lost all her kids.
He's buried beside Jesse and Jed in the
Yep.
Hopedale Cemetery.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, so they're all three there.
So all three brothers, Jason's dad and then his two brothers, Jesse, and what was the other boy's name?
Jed.
And Jed, they're all buried together there in Ohio then.
Yeah, in Hopedale. Yep, down in Cadiz.
Yep.
Interesting.
I go there at least once a year.
I don't go.
Yep.
Yeah.
Jason's been there, but I don't go.
Jason and I talked a lot about his dad and how his dad took his life and how hard that was at that time. And Jason used to get, I guess, intermittent letters and photographs from time to time, but there was not a strong relationship with your father.
Right.
Once your mom moved on.
No, it was nice because I remember vaguely now just phone calls with my father's wife at the time and speaking with my father. But mainly the thing that I still hold on to were the gifts that I got and the fact that I still have his letters, and he shared with me in those letters some of the stuff that he had to face and some of the difficulties that he went through just with a lot of different men, of course situational, but also growing up having different men in the home. It was highly difficult because he was shunned. He was shunned by a lot of people, and I mean, I couldn't imagine that.
Shawn, you were talking about Jason said he had done a swab, wanted to find out who he was related. What was it called? 23?
It's called 23andMe.
23andMe. Tell us about that. What was that all about?
He gets this 23andMe. He'd had it for a long time. And I knew he had it. And I got on it one day. He gave me the username and password. And I'm looking at all these people he's related to. And I'm like, wow, I don't even know these people. And they're like second cousins, third cousins and stuff. So I went ahead and grabbed a couple names. The closest ones to they were second cousins. And at the time, I had Ancestry.com. And I thought, so I bounced from 23andMe to Ancestry. And I started finding these people. And the one girl's name was, I hate to put her name out there, but she is on there. One girl's name was Paula Doyle. And so I looked her up on Ancestry. And then after I did all that, I'm like, oh my God. Here's how she's related to Jason. And she's his second cousin once removed. So her percentage with Jason is 2.15. So her father was Hubert Edward McNish. And I got to thinking, that is Jason's great grandmother's on his dad's side. That's her last name. That was her last name, McNish. Here, Hubert was her brother. So I'm getting a little excited, because I'm like, Oh man, I can show this to Jason, but see, this stuff excites me. It don't excite them. Um,
It's
like if I
cool though.
ran
It's
into,
cool to figure all that out though. It is cool because
yeah,
it's a history. It's a
well, they
personal
don't
history.
understand my enthusiasm. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I
So
get you.
then, and the reason I am enthusiastic about it is because, oh my God, I can finally, Jason, I can tell him this is who your people are for real. You know, DNA doesn't lie. And I thought all he ever had was court papers. There was never any DNA ever done. You know, Jay just didn't come back and uh, fight the court paper, you know, the court hearing because he knew. But I thought this is great. So when I found some of these people, then there's common ancestors. So one of her common ancestors with Jason is Philip I. Well, he's another one that's related. Virginia McNish's mother, Laura Rail, she had a sister, Elizabeth. And I think Philip High comes through her. And so it's all through the bloodline, you know. And
Hmm. From my grandmother's side, which
from your
is
grandmother's side. And that's all I
my
cared about because
my
all I wanted,
father, Charles Manson Jr., came through that birth canal of my
right. And that's
grandmother, right? I
why,
wanted to make sure he didn't come to some other way.
well, that was the thing that I wanted you to know. And it was, and I was like right in front of my face, it's been here.
Yeah, we
And
did that
I
a long time
never,
ago.
and I never caught on. And I thought I can finally show him this was your dad. These were his people. And I wasn't worried about Charles Manson because all I cared about was that you knew that Jay was your father.
Yes.
And
Yep.
we know when and where and how Jay was born. You know, but that's the big thing, Shawn, is there's been a lot of people just making a big hoopla to do about it, trying to question Jason and you know, denying that Jason's who you say he is or who he says he is. And
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
and I'm just astounded with all this stuff going down. Even, you know, set aside the paper trail. I had a guy tell me that, you know, Jason got the ashes, but it wasn't contested. And I'm thinking to myself, why would you contest something why would anybody contest it if it's the truth? How can
Yeah.
you contest the truth? And that's the point. So I started digging deeper. And the reason why there's these people with this stranglehold on these beliefs because they want a piece of the pie with the Charles Manson name. There's been people making money for decades off of the name
Yeah.
of Jason's father's dad.
Yeah.
No wonder people are hanging on to this.
Well, you know what? Jason, when I talked to him yesterday, he told me that he had spoken to Michael Bruner, which I never knew because I don't really like to hear some of this stuff, and Jason knows that. And this is one of the reasons why. And Michael Bruner said to him, Jason's trying to talk to him as a nephew, you know, supposedly nephew. And Michael Bruner said to him, "You should be ashamed of yourself." Ashamed of what? Because that's his grandfather and you people don't like that? I don't understand why.
Words
But
that came
here's,
from his mouth were, "You should be a," and it was a different voice. It was, "You should be a." I got this uppity voice. Hey, I'm thinking in my head, hey, this is me. Hey, what's up? And it's, you should be ashamed of yourself for what you've done. And that was like after the funeral, and I believe it was because I was there, I was present. It's like, well, did somebody expect me to lay back and do nothing? Because if that was the case, um, Charles Manson Sr. would have been tossed out. He'd have been cremated and thrown out into the grass of the prison.
Thanks again for listening to this episode of the Redemption Podcast Show. We hope you got some wisdom out of it. Don't forget, The truth
shall set you free.